Imagine the heat, that thick, suffocating, wet blanket kind of heat that you really only find in the Deep South in mid-July.
Oh, yeah, it just presses down on you.
Exactly. But it's March. It's North Georgia, 1989. The ground isn't just dirt. It's that distinct red clay, the kind that stains your skin, your clothes, and just stays packed under your fingernails for days. And amidst that oppressive atmosphere, there's a smell that cuts right through the humidity, the smell of smoke.
It's sensory overload right from the jump. I mean, you can almost feel the sweat trickling down your back just reading the opening pages. And standing in the middle of this red boot in smoke, we have two young girls.
Samantha, who is 15.
Right, and Charlotte, who is 13. They're just standing there in the ruins of their previous life because their house is just burned down. And they don't know it yet, but they are about to face something so much worse than fire.
This is the nightmare scenario. We aren't building up to it slowly. We were just dropped right into a pot of boiling water. We are talking about two strangers with guns walking into a kitchen. A mother murdered right in front of her daughters. One sister runs, the other stays. One is buried alive.
And the other carries a secret so heavy it threatens to basically rot her from the inside out.
And that really sets the stage for the central tension of the book we're exploring today. It poses this terrifying question, one that I think probably keeps a lot of us up at night. Can you ever really close the box on the past?
We like to think we can, right? We think we can compartmentalize trauma, tape it up, shove it on a high shelf in a dark closet, and just walk away. But this story suggests that the truth is a lot like water. It always, always finds a way to bleed through the cardboard.
Today, we are doing a deep dive into The Good Daughter by Karin Slaughter. Now, if you're familiar with her work, you know she doesn't pull punches. This is technically categorized as a thriller, yes, but to call it just a thriller feels like a huge disservice.
It really does. It is a brutal, microscopic dissection of family dynamics, memory, and the literal physical toll that violence takes on the human body.
It's about the long tail of trauma. And our mission for this deep dive is to trace the journey of the Quinn sisters, Sam and Charlie. We're going to follow them from that farmhouse in 1989 all the way to a school shooting 28 years later. We need to explore how trauma rewires the brain, and ultimately we have to answer the question posed by the title. Who is the good daughter, and does being good actually cost you your soul?
It's a heavy mandate, but we have to start by unpacking 1989, Pikeville, Georgia. And we need to talk about where they are living, because the setting isn't just a backdrop. It's almost a character in itself. They aren't in a nice, safe, suburban home.
No, they're in exile.
Exactly, and that's a crucial distinction. The family used to live in a nice red brick house, a symbol of normalcy, stability, suburban comfort. But that house was firebombed, incinerated, and why? Because of the father's job. So now they're living in this higgledy-piggledy farmhouse.
A structure that predates building codes.
Right. It smells like old cooking grease and damp rot. It's a place where the previous owner, this old bachelor, actually died in the downstairs bedroom.
It just sounds miserable. It sounds like a place where happiness goes to die.
It's a transitional space that became a trap. And in this house, you have this incredibly complex family dynamic. You have the father, Rusty Quinn. In the town of Pikeville, he is known as the attorney for the damned.
Which is such a heavy title, it sounds like something out of a comic book, but for him, it's reality.
It is. He's a defense lawyer, but he's not the corporate kind making millions. He represents the people the town absolutely hates. Rapists, murderers, the indefensible. He's charismatic. He loves quoting literature, Flannery O'Connor, Shakespeare. But his job brings danger directly to his doorstep. He is a lightning rod for the community's rage. And the thing is, he thrives on the conflict. He acts almost like a performance artist.
And then you have the mother, Gamma. Her real name is Harriet, but they call her Gamma. And she is the complete opposite of Rusty. She isn't a performer, she's a scientist.
She is the anchor of the family. She's a physicist, actually. She worked for NASA and Fermilab. I mean, think about that. A woman with that level of intellect, that pedigree, living in a rundown farmhouse in rural Georgia in the late 80s. She plays chess, she speaks in pure logic, and she absolutely does not fit in with the small-town vibe of Pikeville. She's the one trying to hold this chaotic family together with facts.
There's this scene right before everything goes wrong where she's timing the girls running track in the front yard. And she's not just a mom cheering them on from the sidelines. She has a stopwatch. She's actively critiquing their form.
That intensity is key to understanding her. Gamma knows the world is dangerous for her daughters, specifically because of Rusty and the people he defends. She's hard on them because she wants them to be tough. She's trying to build armor for them. And this brings us to the central metaphor of their relationship, the blind pass.
Right, from track and field. Can you explain that mechanic for listeners who might not be sprinters?
Sure. In a relay race, the blind pass is the moment you hand the baton to the next runner. The receiver doesn't look back. They reach their hand out behind them, blindly, trusting completely that the incoming runner will place that baton firmly in their palm. It requires absolute synchronization and trust. If you hesitate or if you look back, you lose speed. You lose the race.
And in the book, right before the attack happens, they botch the handoff.
They drop the baton, and Gamma is furious. She tells Sam, "Promise me you'll always take care of Charlie. You have to put that baton firmly in her hand every time, no matter where she is." It's this heavy, tragic foreshadowing that when the real pressure comes, their connection is going to fail. They aren't going to be able to make the pass.
So the scene is set, the baton is dropped, the house is essentially a tinderbox, and then the Culpepper brothers arrive, Zachariah and Daniel.
They are there because Rusty successfully defended a rapist, and in their twisted logic, they want money or revenge. And I want to pause on the interaction here because it's not immediately a massacre. There's a conversation first. It's very much what Hannah Arendt might call the banality of evil. They want cash. They genuinely think Rusty has money buried in the yard.
And Gamma tries to reason with them.
She tries to use logic on men who are purely feral. She calmly explains the house burned down, they have nothing. But logic doesn't work on rage. The violence that follows is just shatteringly fast. Gamma is executed in the kitchen.
It's brutal. It's a straight-up execution. And this is where the sisters' paths diverge physically and psychologically. Samantha, the older sister, is taken outside by Daniel Culpepper. She is shot in the head.
Shot in the head and buried.
Buried alive.
We really have to sit with that for a second. She wakes up in the grave, the claustrophobia, the darkness, the dirt in her mouth. She has to dig her own way out. That is a level of trauma that is almost biblical. And meanwhile, Charlie, the younger one, runs. She runs for help. She makes it to a neighbor's house, the Hellers. But the tragedy doesn't stop there for Charlie.
No, and this brings us to what I kind of view as the Devil's Pact. This is the psychological turning point that haunts the rest of the entire book. Rusty finds Charlie after the attack. She's traumatized. She's been hurt in ways that a father never wants to imagine. And what does he tell her?
This is easily the most controversial and heartbreaking moment. Rusty realizes that Charlie has been sexually assaulted by the Culpeppers, but he also knows the legal system of 1989. He knows that a trial, forcing a 13-year-old girl to testify about that kind of violation in open court, might actually destroy her. The defense attorneys would tear her apart. They would find a way to blame her.
So he uses the metaphor of the box.
The box. He holds her face, presses his nose to hers, and he begs her. He tells her to take what happened to her, put it in a mental box, tape it shut, and put it on a high shelf in a dark closet. He explicitly tells her not to look at it. He essentially asks her to lie to the police and the court to protect herself.
But I have to ask, is he really protecting her? Or is he protecting himself? Because if she testifies, he has to sit there in that courtroom and listen to the granular details of how he failed to protect his family. He has to publicly admit that his work brought this on to them.
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's likely a very messy mix of both. He loves her, but he's also weak. He's just lost his wife. He thinks his other daughter is dead. He physically and emotionally cannot handle the reality of what happened to Charlie, so he outsources the repression to her. He makes her responsible for his emotional stability. He says, "Can we do that, baby? Can we just close that box?"
And she says, "Yes, Daddy." And that lie has massive generational consequences because Charlie lies. One of the brothers, Daniel, avoids the full weight of justice for the rape. He goes to prison for the murder, sure, but the full truth isn't on the record.
Exactly. It's a survival mechanism that quickly becomes a poison. Rusty thinks he's saving her, but he's really asking her to carry a secret that isolates her from everyone, especially from her sister.
Let's fast forward 28 years. The fracture has had almost 3 decades to settle and harden. What do these sisters look like now? Because they have become very different women.
It's a fascinating study in contrasts. Samantha, Sam, is the brain. She survived the gunshot wound, but she has a traumatic brain injury, a TBI. She lives in New York City as a patent attorney.
I want to dig into the TBI aspect because Slaughter does something really interesting here. Usually in pop culture, a character gets hit in the head and they're totally fine in the next scene, maybe a small scar. But Sam is permanently structurally altered.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just she gets headaches sometimes. Her entire sensory processing system is rewired. She has damage to her parietal lobe, which creates this synesthesia-like effect. She actually feels sounds. If a book drops on the floor, she might feel a physical thud in her chest. If someone speaks too loudly, it feels like sandpaper scraping on her skin.
That sounds completely exhausting.
It is incredibly draining. She describes her recovery as learning to walk and talk again, but also having to learn how to articulate her own thought processes. She feels like a record playing at the wrong speed. She has to consciously manage things that you and I do on autopilot, filtering background noise, balancing. She walks with a cane. She views her body as something that was broken.
And this explains her career choice perfectly. Patent law.
Exactly. Why patent law? Because it's rigid, it's structured, it's logical, it's about blueprints and clear definitions. It is the exact opposite of the messy, emotional, chaotic criminal law her father practices. She uses the rigidity of patent law as a sort of exoskeleton for her fragile brain. She wants a world where 2 plus 2 always equals 4.
And then there's Charlie, the chaos.
Charlie stayed in Pikeville, and ironically, she became a defense lawyer, just like Rusty. But while Sam is rigid, Charlie is a mess. She's promiscuous, she's impulsive, she's highly self-sabotaging. She's married to the local district attorney, Ben, but she cheats on him. She's constantly running, literally running for exercise, pounding the pavement, but metaphorically running from that box on the shelf.
She's the good daughter because she stayed behind to take care of Rusty, but she deeply resents it, doesn't she?
She resents it to her core. She feels trapped by the town and by the secret she kept for her father. She's living in a constant state of hypervigilance. She doesn't trust peace. If things are calm, she's just waiting for the Molotov cocktail to come crashing through the window. So she creates chaos, affairs, drinking, picking fights, because chaos feels familiar to her.
So the sisters are estranged. Sam is up in New York. Charlie is down in Pikeville. But then violence strikes the Quinn family again. Rusty is stabbed in his home.
And this event forces Sam to come back to the place she swore she'd never return to. The reunion is not warm. Sam looks down on Charlie's messy life. Charlie resents Sam's detachment and her quote-unquote success. And looming over all of this interpersonal drama is the news that Daniel Culpepper is out of prison. His truck, this gaudy black truck with gold lettering, is seen driving around town. The fear is palpable. Is he back to finish what he started in 1989?
But just as they are dealing with Rusty's stabbing and the paranoia of Daniel's return, the town is hit by another tragedy, an echo of the past, a school shooting at Pikeville Middle School.
This is the catalyst for the entire modern timeline. And notice the geometry here. In 1989, Charlie ran away from the gunman to get help. In 2017, she happens to be at the school when the shooting starts, and she runs toward the gunfire.
She's trying to rewrite the ending.
Precisely. She's trying to be the savior she couldn't be when she was 13.
And the scene inside is horrific. The principal, Douglas Pinkman, is dead. A little girl, Lucy Alexander, who everyone calls the baby, is dead. And the shooter, it's an 18-year-old girl named Kelly Wilson.
Kelly Wilson is a profoundly tragic figure. She has special needs, a low IQ. She's very childlike. When Charlie finds her, Kelly is holding the gun, but she seems completely confused. She's not acting like a cold-blooded, methodical killer. She's acting like a child who just accidentally broke a vase.
Enter Rusty Quinn. Even from his hospital bed, recovering from a literal stab wound, he insists on taking Kelly's case. He calls her a unicorn. Can you explain that term in a legal context?
A unicorn is a defense attorney's term for a truly innocent client. Most clients in criminal defense are guilty of something, even if the state can't prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. But a unicorn is pure. Rusty has this gut intuition that Kelly didn't do it, or at least didn't understand what she was doing. And because he's incapacitated, he guilt-trips Sam into handling the arraignment.
This scene, the arraignment, is one of the best courtroom scenes I've read in a long time. Sam, who hasn't stepped foot in a criminal courtroom in decades, who usually deals with abstract intellectual property disputes, steps up.
And she absolutely dominates the room. She adopts this persona, Charlie calls it her Victorian Dracula look, because of her incredibly pale skin, her dark glasses for the light sensitivity, and severe dark clothing. But she uses her sheer intellect to dismantle the prosecutor, Ken Coyne.
Ken Coyne is a piece of work.
He is the quintessential slimy, grandstanding district attorney. He cares about the cameras, not the law. He treats the courtroom like a campaign rally for his next election. Sam, on the other hand, treats it like a surgical theater. She uses federal procedural rules to corner him. She catches him trying to introduce evidence during an arraignment, which is a massive procedural no-no. She essentially says, I am here, I am physically damaged, and I am still infinitely smarter than everyone in this room.
But during this arraignment, a major clue drops. Coyne plays an audio recording from the hallway right after the shooting. It's Kelly Wilson speaking.
Right. Kelly asks, was the baby killed?
Was the baby killed? It just chills you to the bone when you hear it in that context.
It's designed to be chilling. The prosecutor paints this as monstrous. He says she's asking if her victim, the little girl Lucy, is dead. He wants the jury and the public to think she's gloating over her kill. But Sam and Charlie, knowing Rusty's unicorn theory, suspect it means something else entirely. It's the first real loose thread that starts to unravel the official story.
So let's get into the investigation, because things don't add up.
They really don't. First, you have the gun. It's an old revolver. Where did a girl like Kelly, with her background and limitations, get a well-maintained antique weapon? Revolvers aren't point-and-shoot like semi-automatics. They have a very heavy trigger pull.
And the ballistics. Sam analyzes the security footage with Rusty's secretary, Lenore. By the way, I love Lenore. She's tough as nails.
Lenore is fantastic, the ultimate loyal right hand. They notice a glaring ballistics anomaly. The shooting required incredible precision. The victims were hit from a significant distance. But Kelly is uncoordinated. She's never fired a gun in her life. And yet there's one wild shot lodged in the wall that doesn't fit the pattern of a sharpshooter. It strongly suggests two completely different skill levels were at play in that hallway.
And then we have Mason Huckabee. This is where the personal and professional collide in the worst way for Charlie.
Mason is a teacher at the school. He's the supposed hero who disarmed Kelly. He's handsome, he's humble, and he's sleeping with Charlie, but he has a secret.
A massive one.
Mason admits to Sam and Charlie that he heard the shots and the count was off. He's ex-military. He counts shots subconsciously. It's ingrained in him. He implies Kelly couldn't have fired all the shots because the timing was wrong. But then the twist lands. Mason is the brother of the rapist Rusty defended back in 1989. The man whose acquittal directly led to the Culpeppers attacking the Quinn family.
Wow. So everyone in this town is connected by that one night in 1989.
That's the classic Southern Gothic element at play. The past isn't past, it's incestuous. Everyone is one degree of separation away from the original trauma. Mason got close to Charlie initially for revenge, or maybe just a morbid curiosity to understand the family that saved his brother but destroyed themselves in the process.
So we have a unicorn client who might be being framed, or at least manipulated, and we find out Kelly is pregnant.
Which raises the stakes immensely. Who is the father? Is she being abused? It heavily parallels Charlie's story, a young girl being used by men, her body becoming a site of crime and secrecy.
The puzzle pieces finally click together in the revelation part of the story, and it all leads back to one seemingly unassuming woman, Judith Pinkman.
The wife of the murdered principal.
But she's not just the grieving widow.
No, and this is the gut punch that brings the whole book full circle. Judith Pinkman is Judith Heller. She is the neighbor Charlie ran to in 1989, the woman who opened the door, who comforted her after Gemma died, who physically wiped the blood off her face.
That connection is just chilling. Charlie goes to see her thinking she's visiting a fellow victim, a woman she shares this deep, tragic bond with.
The scene in Judith's kitchen is a masterclass in tension building. It's quiet, it's domestic, the tea is pouring, but as they talk, the mask slowly slips. Judith confesses.
What is the actual truth?
Judith reveals that her husband, Principal Pinkman, was a monster. He was grooming students, he was systematically abusing Judith, and worse, he was abusing Kelly Wilson. The pregnancy. It's Pinkman's.
So Judith killed him?
Not directly, and this is where the title, The Good Daughter, gets violently twisted. Judith groomed Kelly. She used Kelly's trauma, her malleability, her deep fear of the bullies at school. She convinced Kelly that Principal Pinkman and the little girl Lucy, who was somewhat of a bully to Kelly, were evil. She taught Kelly to shoot. She turned this innocent, vulnerable girl into a weapon to kill her abuser.
That is horrifying. It's pure psychological warfare.
It is. And remember the audio clue. Was the baby killed? Kelly wasn't asking about the victim, Lucy. She was asking if the bad thing, the abuse, the pregnancy, the problem inside her was gone. She was asking Judith if she had done a good job. She was seeking approval from her handler.
So Judith sees herself as a victim who simply took necessary action. She says, I did to Kelly what Doug did to me.
Exactly. She justifies destroying Kelly to save herself. It's a completely warped moral calculus. She groomed Kelly just like her husband groomed victims. The cycle of abuse continued. It just changed hands. The victim became the ultimate perpetrator.
The climax in that kitchen is terrifying. Judith pulls a gun on Charlie.
And Charlie is trapped. She's facing the woman who saved her in 1989, who's now threatening to kill her. Charlie has to use her words. She has to use their shared history, their shared trauma, to talk Judith down until help arrives. It's not a physical fight. It's a psychological one. She has to appeal to whatever shred of humanity is left in Judith.
Which brings us to the resolution. The box is finally opened.
The truth about 1989 finally comes out into the light. Charlie admits to Sam, and finally to herself, that she was raped by the Culpepers, that she lied all those years ago.
I feel like Sam's reaction here is so important. You expect anger, right? Like, why didn't you tell me? Why did you let me think I was alone in my suffering?
But Sam just feels grief. She grieves that Charlie had to carry that immense weight alone for 28 years. There's this beautiful, tragic line where Sam realizes that Rusty's heart was already weak, and maybe he drank so much to chase away the taste of his own complicity in what happened to Charlie.
They realized Rusty wasn't a hero or a villain. He was just a deeply flawed man.
A man who tried to be a good father but made a terrible, damaging choice under pressure. He was right about Kelly being a unicorn. She was innocent of intent, even if she pulled the trigger. But he was also right that the truth is a very dangerous thing.
The sisters finally reconcile. The baton pass from 1989 is finally completed.
They visit Rusty's grave together. They are finally on the same team. They aren't magically fixed. Sam still has a permanent TBI. Charlie is still a messy person, but they aren't alone anymore. The isolation is broken.
So what does this all mean for us? The title is The Good Daughter.
It's deeply ironic. Both sisters tried to be the good daughter. Sam tried to be good by succeeding, by leaving, by becoming the brilliant lawyer her mother always wanted. Charlie tried to be good by staying, by keeping Rusty's secrets, by protecting him from the truth of her pain.
But trying to be the good daughter almost destroyed them both.
Precisely. The story suggests that getting past trauma is a myth. You don't get past it. You don't ever really close the box. You just learn to carry the weight differently. You learn to integrate it into who you are.
And sometimes the act of survival is the most dangerous thing of all.
That's the haunting takeaway of the whole narrative.
I want to leave you with this thought. If you were in Rusty's shoes, knowing the legal system regularly destroys victims, knowing what a brutal cross-examination would do to your 13-year-old daughter, would you ask her to tape up the box? Would you ask her to lie? It's a question that makes you realize the line between protection and destruction is razor thin.
It really is. It forces us to judge ourselves and what we would do to protect the people we love.
You know, before we truly wrap up, I want to circle back to something we touched on at the beginning, but really needs more airtime. The humor. Because despite everything we just said, the murder, the rape, the grooming, this book is actually quite funny.
It is, and that's Slaughter's secret weapon. If it were just unyielding misery, it would be unreadable. But Rusty's dialogue, it's hilarious. He's full of these folksy, biting sayings. He calls Sam's elite patent law work bullshit. Incorporated suing bullshit, limited.
I laughed out loud at that line. And Charlie is funny, too. She's incredibly sarcastic. She's the one who calls Sam Victorian Dracula.
It's gallows humor. It keeps the book from being a slog. It makes the characters feel human. People laugh, even in the midst of tragedy. It's a natural defense mechanism. It shows their resilience.
One last thing on the legal aspect. The book really dives into the gritty, unglamorous details of the legal system in a way that feels highly educational.
It does. It strictly distinguishes between innocent and not guilty. Rusty says there's innocent and there's not guilty, and there's not a lot of rhyme or reason in between. Yeah. He knows the system is flawed. He knows innocent people go to jail and guilty people walk free every single day.
And Ben, the DA, hates the way the system works, even though he's a key part of it. He eventually resigns.
He does. He can't stomach the corruption and the political posturing anymore, especially after he sees how they treated Kelly, interrogating a vulnerable girl without a lawyer, manipulating her statements. It's a severe critique of the justice system as much as it is a thriller. It asks, who does the law actually serve? Does it serve the victims, or does it just serve politicians like Ken Coyne?
It's a heavy question, but a necessary one. The Good Daughter forces us to look at the cracks in the foundation of our families and our society.
And it suggests that the only way to fix those cracks is to shine a very bright, uncomfortable light on them, no matter how much it hurts to look.
Well, this has been quite a journey, from 1989 to 2017, from a bloody farmhouse kitchen to a tense courtroom. The Good Daughter is a heavy read, but a profoundly rewarding one.
It's a book that definitely stays with you. It makes you look at your own boxes on the shelf.
It certainly does. Thank you for guiding us through it.
My pleasure.
And to you, listening, thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you in the next one.